Yesterday, I introduced you to our next build, a 1958 Beetle called Matilda. I also promised I would introduce you to Nathan, our sandblasting guy. I don't really want to share him with you because he's a fucking champion and we really like his work, but I'm going to share him with you anyway. I started asking him about what actually sandblasting is. We refer to it as sandblasting, but it's not sand, right?
It is sand. It's crushed bottle glass, recycled bottle glass. So you can think glass is sand, sand is glass. I mean, that's how it's, that's what it is, period. The process, it can be different every project. You always want to look at any spots that may be rotted right here, rusted out. And also if there's any filler. Anytime I do this, I like to ask the client if they want it removed. If they do, we can do that. But it's going to be, the way I do it, I price it by the job plus materials. So that's just going to be more materials that I will have to use, where he can take a chisel and a hammer and just chisel that stuff right on out. But you want to sand, everybody always asks, well, what about the warping process? It can happen. I mean, I can't say no, but if you are careful, you turn your pressure down. Something like this on this car, I'm going to stay between 60 to 80 psi, which is just enough to, this metal being thin enough where you can stand off about 2 feet and still get a good clean sweep and remove all the paint and all the rust. If you throw glass or sand, whatever you want to call it, really hard at 80 psi or something like that, it's just gonna, I tell people to do it at an angle, because if you do it straight on, especially on flat surfaces, you do have a tendency to possibly warp the metal or damage it even further if it's damage that you don't know about. So you want to make sure that you just take a step back, take it slow. Especially you guys doing show cars, you want to make sure that everything is straight in line and you don't have any kind of foul ups, so to speak.
You changed your process. Well, when we started using your services, you had a wet process?
So Dustless Blasting is the company, the brand that I use. The good thing about wet is you're less likely, there's still a possibility, but you're less likely to warp like fenders, hoods, stuff like that, because you're using water and it keeps it usually 10 degrees below ambient temperature. And also it'll help get all that filler out. But I like to do dry personally. It'll spoil you because it's easier to clean up. You don't have to worry about getting in these heater channels and stuff like that. You might have glass you can't see and it's wet, so it's gonna, think of sand, wet sand, and you compact it right there, it ain't going nowhere for a while, even if it dries. So it'd be caked in there. So you got to make sure you do a really good job of rinsing everything out. So when you do it dry, it's just so much easier to just blow everything out. And then also when you do wet blasting, if you're in the South or anywhere where you have humidity, you're going to have rust. You'll have flash rust, and flash rust it's inevitable in the South. Okay. So after you finish blasting the metal wet, you always have to make sure you prep it with some kind of acid, not some kind, a certain kind. Dustless Blasting makes Hold Tight 102. I personally use Ospo. Yeah, thank you. So I usually use that. So
that's that stuff that you spray on before we put our primer on.
Correct. Yeah. And you want to let that neutralize the metal for about 24 hours.
The thing on there says dustless blasting.
So when it comes to dustless, the easiest way for me to explain is it doesn't put a dust plume in the air, because all the water encapsulates everything and it just falls to the ground. Right. So essentially you get a pile full of wet sand, wet glass. Right. So that's the best. That is one of the great things about it, is you could do in a residential area and it not go everywhere. This is the compressor. That generates the air. That goes from here to a air drying cooling system, and what that does, it takes the air out of the compressor, runs it through this, which cools it. Runs it through here to the fuel water separator, because it goes from hot to cold. You're going to have some condensation. It will then purify that. From there, it sends it to the pot. So when you're blasting, you're like, well, you're going to generate heat because of friction. That's not wrong. But when you do it, like I said, if you do wet, you have that water to keep the metal cooler. And if you have one of these, it will also cool the air as it sends it into the pot. So you're blasting with cooler air essentially. So it definitely helps and cuts down on the friction on the heat.
So there you have it. Hopefully that was informative and interesting to someone out there. We will be back soon with a post-blast walkthrough of Matilda. Rodney and I will go through all of the hidden little treasures that we found after blast on Matilda and work out what metalwork needs to be done. That's all for now, guys. See you, love you, bye.